Could some big name trades go down between now and the NFL trade deadline? We discuss that next here on Verts. My name is Harrison Graham. We've already seen a couple minor moves. Joe Flacco sent to Cincinnati. Odafe Oweh sent to the Chargers in return for a Loie Gilman and a draft pick swap. So things are starting to move here, and Adam Schefter said on Unsports per Evan Cohen that he expects that each Monday and Tuesday from here on out until the trade deadline that we will see some new deals, and that in the end it'll probably be 10 to 12 trades before the NFL fourth trade deadline. And the reason for Monday, Tuesday, because that's right after games, so if you want them to impact your team that week, got to get them in the building quickly. Learn the playbook, all that stuff. So saw a couple already this week on Tuesday. We'll see if more come this week, and certainly some should shake in the weeks to come. Now, we haven't seen a big-time trade just yet. Those typically come closer to the deadline, but I explore some notable names here on this show. Let's start with Jeffery Simmons, the defensive tackle for the Tennessee Titans. Obviously, the Titans are not a contender. They're 1-4, and their one win is one of the flukiest wins you'll ever see against the Arizona Cardinals. But Simmons has been fantastic. Leads all defensive tackles with 25 pressures per PFF. He has 3.5 sacks. He looks like the Simmons we saw a couple of years ago when he got paid that big contract. He is playing at an all-pro level. You could argue he's been the best interior defensive lineman in the NFL this year. And if you're Tennessee moving forward, if you're not contending, is that a guy you trade? Do you try to get more capital and continue to build around Cam Ward long term? I wouldn't trade any offensive pieces if I was the Titans. I'm trying to give Cam Ward as much ammunition as possible, but I do think Simmons at 28 years old, his value is probably never going to be higher than it is right now with his age and how he's playing. So he could be an interesting name to monitor. Okay, Denzel Ward with the Cleveland Browns, another one. There's been some buzz around him. He's almost 30 now. He may actually be 30 as he's been in the NFL for a bit. There was some buzz during training camp. I think the Eagles may have inquired about him, but he could be the best corner potentially available between now and the trade deadline. I don't think he's a lockdown CB1 anymore, but I think he's a good CB2, low-end CB1, depending on the team that could consider trading for him. So keep an eye on Denzel Ward over the next few weeks. How about Maxx Crosby, if we want to kind of enter explosive territory? Now, the Raiders did extend him this offseason, and you rarely see a big extension for a player and then a trade before the next offseason. That's pretty rare, but a couple of things to consider here. One, before they hired Pete Carroll, there was some deep chatter that Crosby could ask out. Now, they hired Carroll. He met with them, and, he was kind of sold on the vision. But they've been bad, man. They won week 1. They've lost 4 in a row, and it's just sad seeing this guy's career go to waste. I mean, he has played for so many different coaches, garbage team after garbage team. And like Jeffery Simmons at 28, he's not going to play at an elite level until when he's 35. You're just wasting precious years here. And honestly, if you're the Raiders, it's like, if you can get like a 1 and a 2 for him, would you not consider it? And the way they structured the contract, they can actually do this without major penalty. They front-loaded the guarantees. Even this year, if they traded him, the dead cap is only like $10 million, and that's prorated down by the week, so it's probably down to like $7 million as the weeks go by. And next year, it's only a $5 million dead cap penalty with like 20-something million in savings. So if you're the Raiders, it's not like the way his cap hits are set up, you're just screwed if you trade him. You can trade him right now and kind of get out of some of those major cap hits that would come, in 2027, 2028. Not saying it's an easy decision. He is the face of your franchise. There's always a business component to this. He puts butts in seats. You trade him, you're kind of punting on the season. I get all that. There's already negative vibes with this new regime. Feels like just another Raiders season, but man, if you can get some serious capital, a 1 and a 2, maybe even 2 1s, I got to consider that if I'm Vegas. And if I'm Maxx Crosby, look, I respect him being loyal to the Raiders and wanting to make it work there. But is it going to work? Is it going to work? I want to see this guy play meaningful games, in important games for a good team. So I would consider it. If the Raiders 1-7, 2-6, I mean, you get a massive offer, I'd be thinking about moving Maxx Crosby. Should the Raiders trade Maxx Crosby? What do you think? Type Y for yes. type in for no. Sometimes the split makes sense for everybody. Give us your thoughts. I'd love to see him play for a contender. All right, Trey Hendrickson. Obviously, the offseason saga was well documented, not only on this show, but everywhere. For those who paid attention, the Bengals did not extend him, but they did give him a pay raise from $16 million to $30 million for this year. They just traded for Joe Flacco, so clearly this would not be a move they make right now. But unless Flacco surprises us and stacks a few wins here, they're probably gonna be mostly out of the mix at the trade deadline. Like I would guess, maybe Flacco goes 1-2, 1-3 between now and the deadline. I just don't think Flacco is salvaging their season. I know they keep saying just hold off till Joe Burrow comes back. That's a 3-month minimum injury. So at best, Burrow would be back in early mid-December. I don't think they're going to be afloat by then. Now, the AFC is down right now, and if Flacco could win a few games and keep them around 500, they're 2-3. Maybe they get to 6-7, and Burrow could come back. Like that's probably like the best case scenario. Okay, but is that realistic? I mean, Joe Flacco was playing bad ball. Trey Hendrickson, they kind of showed you they don't want to commit money to him long term. If you could get a 2 or a 3 for him, would you just take it if you're the Bengals? I think you'd have to consider it if it's clear by the trade deadline that they are not in the playoff mix. Okay, another edge rusher here, Kayvon Thibodeaux, a young ascending player. So kind of a trickier one because he has not signed a big contract up to this point. But you look at the Giants, they kind of have a flux of edge rushers, right? Brian Burns, who they've already committed big money to. Abdul Carter, who they just drafted 3rd overall. Clearly he's in their future plans. Not saying Kayvon Thibodeaux can't be, but you've just turned to Jackson Dart. Isn't that money that you could potentially pay Kayvon Thibodeaux better suited to give Jackson Dart more help either on the offensive line or at wide receiver to pair with Malik Neighbors, who now is going to be coming off a torn ACL next year? You're probably going to have to pay him $20 million at least, maybe more if he has a major season here. He does have the 5th-year option next year, so you could just play it out. But, even guys who aren't great, good pass rushers get paid, in the mid-teens at least. So I just don't know from a resources allocation standpoint. You have Dexter Lawrence making a lot of money too. Do you want to pour all your money into your defensive line? It's certainly a position group that is worthy investing into, but you've invested heavily already without Kayvon Thibodeaux. So I could see the Giants entertaining a trade here if they could get a day 2 pick for him. All right, today's show is sponsored by PrizePicks. The best daily fantasy sports app can be found at prizepicks.com/CLNS. You and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. The way PrizePicks works is simple. You pick 2 or more players, up to 6 player lineups, and pick more or less on their stat projections. We're talking passing yards, rushing yards, receiving yards, touchdowns, field goals, targets, catches, hits, strikeouts in baseballs, goals in hockey, which is back, obviously. Plenty of sports available. You can crossover sports in your lineups, 2 to 6 player lineups. A cool feature on PrizePicks is you can follow other PrizePicks players directly on the app and copy their lineups in one click, whether it's a friend, a celebrity partner, or just someone whose picks you like. Hit the follow button and check out every lineup they create in the new feed tab on PrizePicks. A little 2-player lineup for you this week. I'll certainly launch some more. I like Caleb Williams more than 24.5 rushing yards against Washington. Big game for the Bears, so I think he'll be willing to use his legs there. And then Deebo Samuel for Washington on the flip side. I like him to find the end zone. Demon pick. Those are a little tougher to hit, so $20 entry to win $70. Check it out today. That's an example of a lineup. Download the PrizePicks app. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Okay. Alvin Kamara. And this is a tricky one because, he extended with the Saints last year, kind of knowing full well that their future was murky at best. He knows that they're kind of, even if Mickey Loomis won't fully commit to it, they're kind of rebuilding. They don't have a lot of talent they can win now with. Now, Spencer Rattler's shown some good things. They do have some veterans that can play, but they just don't have enough talent. They don't have a lot of avenues to get a lot of talent. So It's tough because clearly he wants to be there, but like, would he entertain a trade considering that they're probably not winning anytime soon? I think they would only trade him if he signed off on it. So it may not happen. I don't think he has a no-trade clause, so they could trade him even if he didn't want to. But, sometimes certain players to certain franchises, teams will keep him if that's what they want just because, he might just want to be a one-team guy. And obviously he's done a lot for that organization. So not convinced that this one would happen, but if he signed off on it, I think the Saints would entertain it. Breece Hall, I do think this one's more likely. Final year of his rookie contract with the Jets. I know Braylon Allen is currently injured with an ankle injury, but the Jets really like him. They got 3 years of control with him still, and the Jets are terrible. Like this, even though Breece Hall's having a great year and he could be a guy you give a second contract to, does it make sense if you're the Jets? Like if he continues to play like this, you might have to give him like the Kyren Williams deal, which is $11 million per year on a 3-year deal. Does that make sense from a resources standpoint if you're the Jets when you're an 0-5 team and you're going nowhere right now? Probably not. It probably makes more sense to trade him for like a 4th or 5th round pick, take what you can get, and continue to rebuild the roster over the next couple of years here rather than paying decent money to a running back. Breece Hall expressed his frustrations recently of not being on a winning team. He said, I'm worried about winning football games. I'm not worried about having fun right now. I'm in my 4th year, and I don't have a lot of time to prove what I want to do and who I can be in this league. At the end of the day, I'm worried about winning football games. And I don't think that path for the Jets is near term. I think, they're even worse than I expected this year. I thought they'd be like a scrappy 6-7 win team. Like, that would be miraculous at this point. If they won 6 games, that means they go 6-7 the rest of the way. I don't think anyone thinks that's happening at this point in time. Actually, that would be 6-6 because they're 0-5 already. So I just don't think it makes sense for the Jets to pay him. So why not trade him? And you might say, Harrison, well, they could play the comp pick formula game, let him walk in free agency, at least keep him the rest of this year. It's like, well, that only works if you let more guys out than you bring in. That's how the formula works. And typically bad teams invest in free agency, and the Jets are a bad team. So if I'm New York, I'm listening to offers. I would not be in the business of paying Breece Hall, north of $10 million per year. If you can get him on some team-friendly deal, like 2 years, $15 million, okay, like I'd probably do that. But if he's having a year like this, he might, flirt with 10, maybe even $12 million per year on a tube, if not a 3-year or 4-year contract. All right, here on 4 Verts, we react to big news. Big games, storylines, trade rumors. It's trade season, less than a month away from the NFL trade deadline. College football content as well. If you love football, we're the channel for you. Rock and roll with us. Hit that subscribe button. We are trying to get to 12,000 subscribers. Okay, Budda Baker. He's been in trade rumors before over the last couple of years and has never quite gotten moved, but Arizona's kind of in free fall. They were 2-0, and now they've lost 3 games in a row on last-second field goals. Like, if their season kind of falls off the rails here, would you trade a guy like Budda Baker to a team that could use a safety, a contender? That could be a name to watch over the next few weeks. Obviously, Arizona, they're in win-now mode. It's year 3 of their head coach and GM. Kyler Murray's made the playoffs once in 7 years, whatever it is. So they're trying to win, but they've lost 3 in a row. If they lose 2 out of their next 3 or something and they're 3-5, do you go into seller mode? Do you trade a guy like Budda Baker? I think that's certainly possible. You might be able to get like a 3rd-round pick for him. Okay, Jaelan Phillips, who hasn't racked up a ton of numbers this year with the Dolphins from a sack standpoint, but he's been pretty good at rushing the passer now. He does not defend the run very well, so he's kind of a pass rush specialist. So I don't think you'd get a first for him if you're Miami, but you might get like a 2nd or 3rd. Him and Kayvon Thibodeaux, probably similar realm. I would lean into Kayvon if I was a team. Less injury history. I think he's a year younger, and he's a little better against the run overall. But Phillips could be a guy for the Dolphins who, again, could be changing head coaches, could be changing GMs that, instead of paying him $20, $25 million per year, would you just take, hey, 3rd-round pick, we'll take it and move on? That could certainly be possible. And ESPN reported, Jeremy Fowler last week, that he's a name to watch at the trade deadline. So there's already probably some chatter among teams happening here for Jaelan Phillips. And with the Dolphins losing that game to fall to 1-4 instead of being at 2-3, the chances of them being in sell mode increased, I think, significantly over the weekend. All right, lastly, I'll throw one more at you. And there was some chatter this offseason, didn't happen, but Mark Andrews, Ravens having this weird year. They have Isaiah Likely waiting in the wings. I think he's poised for a bigger role moving forward. Andrews is still a good and productive player, but if the Ravens are kind of just this year's version of the 49ers last year where they just can't overcome these injuries, do you just pivot off Andrews and lean into Likely the rest of the year and he's your tight end one for the future? I think a contending team would give you a decent pick for Andrews, like a 4th-round pick. So, I wouldn't bet on this one happening, but, if they go 2-2 or worse between now and the trade deadline, that could be a name that teams call on to try and add a veteran piece to their offense for a playoff push if Baltimore isn't in the mix anymore. All right, there you go. 10 big-name players that I think could get traded to keep an eye on over the next month or so. Who's a player you want to see get traded? Name a player that should get traded between now and the deadline. Maybe a player you want your favorite team to add. Drop a name down in the comment section below. My name is Harrison Graham. Appreciate everybody for tuning into For Verts. We will continue to cover the latest NFL and college football coverage here on this show. We will see you guys soon. Hit that subscribe button.